Hey everybody, it's Innovision, and I just want to start out by saying thank you to everyone who voted in our latest community survey. The people have spoken, and we've ordered some supplies, and we have a very cool NECA TMNT figure customization coming down the pipeline. Now in today's episode, we'll be covering the second part of our 3-part mini-series of restoring this $20 thrift store Xbox using the power of Raspberry Pi. Now last time, we completely disassembled and refurbished this Xbox. We wired up and soldered the LPC debug port along with a pin header installation. That way we can attach the Raspberry Pi RP2040 microcontroller to unlock all that chewy goodness of custom firmware. Today, we'll be reassembling the Xbox, as well as booting into our custom firmware environment. And we're going to go over how to repair and refurbish the optical drive. I would like to note that the steps we go over for troubleshooting, refurbishing, and repairing the optical drive are not Xbox specific. That means that the steps that we provide here today can be used for a vast majority of the PC optical drives out there in the wild. We finished rebuilding our debug port. Now I want to be able to put our heat sinks back on. And like so many good people out there, I keep Arctic Silver on hand. Some people apply it directly on the heatsink. I tend to put it directly on the die. Use like a small plastic bag to rub it in. I like to keep like an evenly thin coated layer on here. And that allows me to pull up any excess.
Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top.
Alright, with our heat sinks reinstalled, we're ready to reinstall the motherboard into the chassis. So we're gonna gently hold it by the heat sink here on the CPU, and we're gonna just try to slide it in. Now be careful, as we slide it in, we don't wanna mess up our wires on the bottom. So you kind of want to get it in place and then just gently drop it in. We'll start at the back here so that the video port and the Ethernet port are aligned with the chassis back plate. And be mindful of these cords in the front here. Just kind of move them out of the way so they don't go underneath it. We're almost free of the cords here. So I tend to just grab them and put them on the top like that. And then make sure that we're still aligned in the back, and we can gently put it into place. All right, so we're aligned everywhere in the back, and now we're gonna just gently drop it down. And so you should see, if it's installed correctly, all the holes where the screws go into the chassis you should see right into them, and that looks pretty good. And so now we're gonna just start installing them one by one. I like to use this tool to help hold the screws. I kind of rotate them in there just a couple turns to get them started. So now we're going to go ahead and connect the power button and eject button. And now we're going to plug in the power supply. And then last but not least, the exhaust fan. Now we can go ahead and install the mod chip. So it goes with the USB Type-C port facing that way. It looks like it's kind of resting on a capacitor there. Alright, so I just moved the capacitor just a little bit out of the way. So one thing that I really like about this chip, it's also got pin headers for if you want to install RGB lighting in your case and things like that, which is kind of cool. And so now we can go ahead and reinstall the DVD-ROM, and then we'll reinstall the hard drive. Now we've already flashed our Raspberry Pi RP2040 microcontroller with Prometheus. And from there we flashed Cerbios, and now we're booting our Xbox for the first time. In the description of the video, we're providing links to Team Resurgent's GitHub page, and they provide clear instructions on how to flash the microcontroller. Prometheus is an open source operating system that runs inside specialized mod chips like the Xenium mod chip, or in our case, a Raspberry Pi RP2040 microcontroller. Prometheus acts almost like a BIOS bootloader or a front end where you can configure some settings and select between 4 bootable BIOS banks, as well as the retail BIOS. And Prometheus is chock full of features. It even has a FTP server running to provide access to the Xbox file system, and it has a HTTP server that you can log in remotely to flash various custom firmwares, all from the comfort of your computer. So I already have everything kind of disconnected here. I'm just lifting the hard drive back out, and I'm just going to flip it kind of like this upside down here. and we're going to go ahead and pull the optical drive out. So the plan is that we're going to take the optical drive apart, and we're going to leave this top cover off to just kind of see what's going on internally with the mechanics of the system here. Please note, it's important while we're doing this, you don't want anybody else around. You do not want to look directly into the laser because, as the disc tray might come in and out, the laser is going to actuate and it's going to turn on. So make sure your face is out of the line of fire of that laser. So the first thing we're going to do is peel off this plastic bracket here just to loosen off the drive, and keep it handy because we're going to attach it back in there. And so we're just going to place the drive down. We're going to move the plastic to the side. And so if you flip the drive over upside down like this, so we see the underside of it, you'll see that there's 4 screws that we're going to have to remove. So let's just remove them and put them in a safe place. I'm going to leave them off for now while we're troubleshooting. Alright, so now we're going to flip the DVD drive back over, and this part should just come right up. Dude, so this is what I was greeted with when I popped the cover off. Here we have 20 years of dust and skin flakes accumulated in here. Now I actually took a peek earlier because I wanted to see what was going on. I cleaned all the dust out. I also added oil to the gears because they weren't the cogs that are underneath here. We'll take a look at that in a second. You see there's the laser. I've already wiped it down with a Q-tip, barely dabbed it with a Q-tip that had isopropyl alcohol on it. It looks like I might need to do it again. You see this white plastic in there? That white plastic is actually part of the drive tray, and so if you take like a screwdriver and gently pull it forward, if you push down on it ever so lightly, it's going to release the drive tray, and it looks like the drive tray is now free. So you can kind of see it better from this angle. That white plastic there, if you push down on it, it'll release the drive tray, and that's what we want. We want it to be released here, just to take a look and make sure there's nothing going on around here. So looks like things are moving freely here. But see, once you've removed that, you can see we can get down into these cogs and we can add some oil there. One thing you can do is take some WD-40 paper towels and just kind of dab it into the teeth on the gear here. You can still see a little bit of remnant of dust in here, but I had to take this apart and vacuum it. There's a whole dust bunny in here. So this looks well. So now we're going to actually leave the top part off. Just be careful that we're not going to damage anything. So while we're transporting it, we're just going to slide this metal cover back over it just while we're moving it around. Once we're done with this step, we're going to basically reinstall it into the Xbox and then remove this cover. Alright, so we've attached it back to the plastic holder, and so we've got our Xbox here again. Go ahead and attach the IDE cable. It's a little bit easier to attach the IDE cable while we're have everything out and about. And then let's go ahead and attach the power connector. These cords are old, so you're going to want to be mindful that you're very gentle. And as we're installing the DVD drive back here, we want to be careful we don't knock into our Raspberry Pi because it's slightly raised. All right, looks like we are in, all the way in. All right, let's go ahead and put our hard drive back in. So now we've got the hard drive back in position, and let's just go ahead and install the IDE cable. So our IDE cable is connected. Everything's back in position. So we're just going to move the IDE cable out of the way and go ahead and lift this metal case off the optical drive. And so now I'm just going to plug everything back up. Okay. Make sure your face is nowhere near this laser, because as we turn the Xbox on, it's going to want to try to read a disc by default. So, alright, so it looks like we've got spinning, we've got laser beam action. So it looks like the drive belt is loose here. So what I'm going to do is get this tray into position, and we're going to just cut the power off so we can replace the drive belt. See how it's just spinning? I'm barely applying any pressure here holding it like this. So once the full assembly is in place, I think it's putting some friction on top of the drive tray, and so it's not able to pull the drive tray in and out. Alright, so let's go ahead and cut the power. Alright, I'm going to move this, and I have a couple drive belt replacements. So yeah, this thing is pretty loose here. You can actually see if you just have your finger over it, it's not able to have any friction on it. So like just, you know, over time, if you close the drive tray like this with your hand over time, it does wear out the belt a little bit faster. But this console's, you know, 20 years old, so I think it's expected that these kind of more mechanical parts do fail more often. So let's go ahead and take this off. And here's my replacement here. And you can see that the replacement's here on the left, the original one's on the right, and you can see it's just a lot more elongated. So that should help. You don't want to overstretch it either as you install it. There we go. That looks perfect. Alright, so I'm going to plug the power back in and just give it a quick test before we reassemble it. Now I put my thumb in the way. Oh yeah, it's definitely putting more pressure on. You know, let me hold it a little bit. Yeah, I can't hold it down for moving now. So I'm putting just a small amount of resistance holding the tray as it's trying to take it back, and it's able to pull it out of my fingers, so it's a lot stronger than it was before. And look, looks like the drive tray can come out. Perfect. So next thing we're going to want to do is actually see if we can read a disc. In our upcoming final video in our 3-part miniseries on restoring this $20 thrift store Xbox with the power of Raspberry Pi, we will show you how to upgrade from the spinning IDE hard drive to a solid-state disk. That way your console is running smoothly for many years to come. We will also be going over how to completely rebuild the Xbox file system and install a custom dashboard. Along with the custom dashboard, this will give you access to apps that allow you to make game backups and emulators for emulating your favorite games of yesteryears. Now be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because you do not want to miss out on all the cool mods and toy customizations we've got coming down the pipeline.